Good morning, everyone. It was really exciting to watch everyone joining in and watch those numbers tick up with the participants. We want to welcome you to DE24, Unlocking Potential, Expanding Opportunity, the Role of Dual Enrollment. My name is Michelle Lair, and I serve as the Director of Academic Programs with the North Carolina Community College System Office. And we're one of the partners hosting the conference this year, along with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, RAND Corporation, and the Early College Research Center. Here in North Carolina, we are truly honored to host this national conference. We are excited to have persons attending from all over the country to engage around research, policy, and practice in the dual enrollment space. And we're certainly grateful for each of you who have taken time to participate in this year's conference. If inclined, I invite you all to introduce yourselves in the chat. Give us your name, your role, and the state that you represent. So please take a few moments, if you don't mind, to do that in the chat so we can get to virtually meet each other. We are looking forward to a wonderful 2 days with you here virtually, hearing and learning from our colleagues in this work, this dual enrollment work from all across the country. We have several states represented here, and I'm sure we'll see that here in the chat. We're going to start this morning with hearing from two individuals who lead the agencies who are collaborative partners in bringing dual enrollment to students here in North Carolina. We are honored to have with us two very remarkable guests. First, the North Carolina Community College System President, Jeff Cox. Dr. Jeff Cox is the 11th president of the North Carolina Community College System and a lifelong champion of North Carolina public instruction. Or education rather. Prior to leading the system, Dr. Cox served as the president of Wilkes Community College from 2014 to 2023, where he more than doubled the completion rate at that college, raised $20 million for strategic initiatives, and created a 5-year strategic plan, seen as a national model for other institutions. Dr. Cox formerly served as the superintendent of Allegheny County Schools from 2005 to 2014. He also has served as assistant superintendent of curriculum instruction for Lee County Schools and an elementary principal and assistant principal in Union County Schools. He began his career as a high school teacher and coach in 2001. Dr. Cox earned his doctoral degree in educational leadership from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. He also has a master's in school administration and a bachelor's degree in English, secondary education, both of which he earned from Appalachian State. We also have with us North Carolina Superintendent of Public Instruction, Catherine Truitt. Since her first days as a classroom teacher, Catherine Truitt's priority has been students. Ensuring that students have an opportunity to receive the best education possible is the driving force in her work day to day. She recognizes that today's students are tomorrow's workforce and remains committed to readying graduates for college and career. As North Carolina State Superintendent, Ms. Truitt works and focuses on improving the state's public schools, expanding innovation, and creating new opportunities for students to learn, grow, and successfully transition into the post-secondary plans of their choice. Prior to this role, Ms. Truitt served as Chancellor of nonprofit Western Governors University, North Carolina. As Chancellor, she focused on increasing access to higher education for the 1.5 million North Carolinians with some college but no degree. Ms. Truitt collaborated with community colleges, hospitals, school districts, and economic development groups to ensure that state workforce demands were being met. Ms. Truitt is a 1994 graduate of the University of Maryland with a Bachelor's of Arts in English. She received her master's in education from the University of Washington in 1997. We are grateful and honored to have you here. And I'll turn the floor now to Superintendent Truitt.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. It's an honor to be with you all this morning, and welcome to the 2024 Dual Enrollment Conference, hosted by several North Carolina agencies: the North Carolina Community College System, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, the University of North Carolina at Greensboro's Early College Research Center, and our national partner, the RAND Corporation. We are so excited that you are here to learn from our partners and one another about dual enrollment practice, policy, and research. As State Superintendent of Public Instruction, my work is focused on improving the state's public schools, expanding innovation, and ensuring that all students are prepared to be enrolled, enlisted, or employed when they graduate. This would not be possible without our robust community college system and our partners there, including System President Jeff Cox. While Jeff Cox began his role as system president in June, he has spent his entire career devoted to bettering education for North Carolina students and deeply understands the importance of building and fostering partnerships to make educational programming accessible and successful.
Well, thank you, Superintendent Truitt. That's very kind. And Michelle, very kind of you for that lengthy introduction. I think next time I'll just say, this is Jeff. He's a lifelong educator. He's one of you. So that might be how we change that bio. But anyway, I want to welcome all of you, myself, to this second conference now focused on the role of dual enrollment and unlocking student potential and expanding access to our post-secondary education in our state and across the country. I'm really proud to be here. My role as president of our North Carolina Community College System. Across the state, our 58 community colleges offer free tuition to high school students through the support of our General Assembly. We work closely with the superintendent's team and really all of our local superintendents across the state, our researchers, policymakers, and practitioners to inform policies and practices expanding post-secondary education opportunities to high school students across our state. In the most recent academic year, we served over 78,000 students through our dual enrollment programs, including approximately 44,000 students in our four-year transfer pathway, 22,000 students in our early college high school programs, and 11,000 students in our career and technical education pathways, which offer a head start on career pathways for students interested in career opportunities following high school graduation.
Yeah, and the partnership between the Department of Public Instruction and the community college system is critical for developing programs like CCP, so our students can attain the credentials and develop the skill sets that prepare them for life after high school. We work with each North Carolina region and with our business and industry partners to determine present and future workforce needs. As you may know, one of the ways that we're working to better prepare students for their post-secondary plans is through our statewide Portrait of a Graduate. So our portrait identifies several durable skills that students should possess upon graduation from high school so they can thrive in a 21st century place of work, whether that's college, career, or military. And these skills include adaptability, collaboration, communication, critical thinking, empathy, learner's mindset, and personal responsibility. The portrait shows that student academic success matters, but so does a student's ability to adapt, collaborate, communicate, think critically, etc. In order to prepare students for programs like CCP or for the community college system, it takes a large network of practitioners to maintain these programs. So we're so grateful to our advanced learning team and to our dual enrollment staff and partners who work continuously to grow partnerships and create opportunities for our students. We also want to acknowledge our research partners who evaluate the outcomes of these programs and who help us use data to improve our programming. These individuals play a significant role in our work, and you will have the opportunity to hear from them throughout the conference. Finally, we want to acknowledge the members of the General Assembly who have worked throughout many years to help us build programs that are affordable, accessible, and beneficial to our students. It takes collaboration from all stakeholders to develop and improve these programs, and we are excited for you all to be here in the same place to share ideas and learn from one another.
Absolutely, Superintendent Truitt. I know you, like me, are proud of the great work that's being done here in North Carolina and how we've worked together with our partners to grow and shape our dual enrollment programs. I know we are a leader in the country in dual enrollment. But there's a lot of interest to expand even further. I know I've talked with several legislators, and I know Superintendent Truitt and I both have an interest in continuing to expand and grow opportunities for high school students to get college credit. We got a lot of high school kids who don't think they're college material until they take a community college dual enrollment course and then figure out, you know what, I can do this. And it opens that door to higher education to a whole group of students. We also know that we can learn a lot from all of you all here on this in this virtual meeting today. And we're excited to hear about the work being done all over the country. We hope we can learn a lot from you all as well. We thank you in advance for your time that you've committed to learning more about unlocking the potential of dual enrollment and expanding access for students. We hope that this conference offers you the chance to learn new and adaptable strategies that grow your programs and help students reap the benefits of dual enrollment and opportunities across the nation. Thank you again for having us here and being here with us today. Take care.
Wow, thank you, President Cox and Superintendent Truitt. What a way to get our conference started off. They, I think, evidenced quite well the collaborative spirit that is dual enrollment with the work between the agencies working together collaboratively with our legislature, with our workforce partners. It truly does take a village. And so we're grateful to have both of you to really share from your perspectives what this partnership looks like and how in North Carolina we've worked together to bring dual enrollment as an opportunity to all of our students in the state. So thank you again. Now we are going to move to another very special guest, our keynote speaker for the conference. We are honored to have her share the keynote with us again. She did share keynote for our initial dual enrollment conference that we've hosted, and she was gracious enough to come and to join us again. So we are grateful again for that. And I want to introduce you now to our keynote, Dr. Karen Stout, President and Chief Executive Officer of Achieving the Dream. Dr. Stout is leading a network of over 300 community colleges working to become profoundly accessible hubs of learning, credentialing, and economic mobility that eliminate inequities in educational and workforce outcomes. ATD's capacity building and coaching supports have reached more than 500 primarily open access institutions, including minority serving institutions or MSIs and tribal colleges and universities. Before joining ATD, Dr. Stout was president of Montgomery County Community College in Pennsylvania for nearly 15 years, where she was recognized for her service to the college and community with President Emeritus status and with the Student Success Center being named in her honor. In 2022, she was awarded the American Association of Community Colleges Leadership Award and entered the organization's Hall of Fame. Earlier this year, she was recognized by the University of Pennsylvania with the prestigious Robert Zemsky Medal for Innovation in Higher Education. She holds a doctorate in educational leadership from the University of Delaware, a master's degree in business administration from the University of Baltimore, and a bachelor's degree in English from the University of Delaware. I hope you all will join me in a very warm round of virtual applause for Dr. Stout. Dr. Stout, welcome to DE24, and we'll turn the virtual stage over to you.
Well, thank you, Michelle, and it is wonderful to be here with everyone. I was able to, I think, keynote, I think it was last year or the year before, and it's always great to be back in front of this group talking about something that I love and something that I believe is one of the most essential levers for transformation in our sector. Especially as we think about creating more profoundly accessible institutions. Dual enrollment is an essential part of that strategy. You know, I just saw yesterday some data from North Carolina that said over from 2019 to 2022, the state has increased overall educational attainment by 4 percentage points, from 53.4% to 57.4%. But the data also show that the state remains 391,900 students away from reaching its 2 million goal, and that the state is tracking about 24,000 students behind where you need to be at this point in time in order to reach the goal. And while a lot of the efforts in North Carolina are focusing rightfully on adult reconnection strategies, I think this is an and that we also need to think more comprehensively and strategically about the role of dual enrollment in building access to our institutions. I want to thank Michelle for that wonderful introduction, and North Carolina Community College System President Jeff Cox and Superintendent Catherine Truitt for their leadership and vision. It takes that partnership to really create a statewide strategy to enable this kind of reform at the institutional level. And I want to thank everyone who's attending, practitioners, researchers, and leaders from all over the country. I noticed in the chat we have people from Alaska, Maryland, Texas, Virginia, Pennsylvania. I see a few of my Montgomery County Community College colleagues have joined in, New Jersey, Kansas, Colorado, and plus a lot from North Carolina and other states that I may have missed. Achieving the Dream represents over 300 community colleges in 45 states and the District of Columbia. And our work, as Michelle mentioned, touches nearly 200 open access colleges and universities. I'm really proud of our deep connections in North Carolina. 15 of North Carolina's community colleges are also ATD network colleges, some since the beginning of ATD 20 years ago in 2004. And our work touches all of North Carolina community colleges, either through that network work or through our close partnership with the Belk Center for Community College Leadership and Research at North Carolina State University, for which I have the distinct honor to chair the advisory board of the Belk Center. Our partnership has supported the Belk Center's innovative work to establish 4 regional teaching and learning hubs that are dedicated to providing rich professional learning experiences for faculty, a very innovative model that we hope other states will think about replicating, as well as the work we're doing with the Belk Center with 10 teams from rural colleges in North Carolina, helping those rural colleges develop work plans to address access opportunities and opportunities to improve completion for the students that they're serving. Before I really jump into my remarks, I want to make a quick note about language. The College and High School Alliance, of which Achieving the Dream is a member, notes that there are 38 different terms that describe the act of a high school student taking a college course. And these terms often mean something different depending on the locality or the state where they might be used. So today I'm going to use the term dual enrollment for efficiency to capture broadly all of that work. So that encompasses many types of dual credit programs where students earn college credit while in high school, as well as transition programs that create a pathway from high school to college for students. And while I will use the term dual enrollment broadly, I also hope to demonstrate that we need to think far more broadly and strategically about the way we shape our partnerships, our college and K through 12 partnerships, in ways that reach beyond dual enrollment and to connect advancing our sector's urgent imperative to take on a bolder access agenda that leads to more equitable student success and community vitality. Connecting this work in dual enrollment and broader K through 12 partnering, helping our colleges to embrace what I call a broader and bolder access agenda, is at the heart of ATD's thinking about how a new definition of access supports our evolving student success agenda. Now more than ever, the broader goals that I mentioned, creating pathways to institutions for students who never saw post-secondary education as an option, must be within our line of sight. The 2023 fall enrollment numbers tell this story about why our rethinking of access is urgent. While overall enrollment finally started to show signs of progress, growing just over 2% from fall 2022, the big driver for enrollment growth, which was dual enrollment, which increased by 8.8%, following a 10.4% increase the year before. So since fall 2021, dual enrollment is up 20%. And dually enrolled students now account for about 40% of the total enrollment increase at community colleges over the last 2 years. So dual enrollment, as most of you know, is the fastest growing segment of community college enrollment. And if we are to meet our missions, we must stretch the boundaries of our thinking about the design of our dual enrollment programs and about the range of partnerships we might develop with K through 12 partners to help more students thrive, who without these programs would never have found their way to college in the first place. We face a moment in time that calls on us to think differently. As the recently released Education Recovery Scorecard documented, quote, "The COVID-19 pandemic may be over, but our national recovery is in lost math and reading proficiency is just beginning," unquote, particularly in high poverty school districts. So addressing the impact on students requires us to rethink not only who we are looking to serve in new places, but how we partner with schools to be more innovative, collaborative, and engaged earlier in the education of our future students. So as you look at this slide, if we could go back to we could go back to the slide. The access part of our mission has always been important for community colleges, but I think sometimes we've taken that access mission for granted. We've assumed because it's part of our DNA that students will find us. And that we're finding is not the case. And we need to be thinking about bolder access at entry, and then thinking more strategically about access as students move through our colleges and into our communities. We'll talk a little bit about how dual enrollment plays a role in that as we go through today's conversation. So on the next slide, as Nikki Edgecombe from the Community College Research Center beautifully says, if we assume we can just implement existing interventions or practices or policies as we have done before the pandemic, we risk a generation of students, particularly low-income students, particularly students of color, whose long-term economic mobility could be profoundly impacted in negative ways. And that's why that past slide really connects our work on completion to student and family return on education, and then what that means for the vitality of our communities. And that's the whole part of our student success work, of which dual enrollment beautifully connects if we design it strategically and intentionally. So the question is, where do we go from here? We basically need to answer two questions. How do we move forward, and to what end? So I want to do a little bit with my time here today to discuss both the why and the how at various levels to understand, what's happening and what's required of institutions in the next phase of dual enrollment work. What policies should we think about developing institutionally and state particularly, and what new research is required to inform the next phase of dual enrollment. So I'm going to focus first on the institutional level, because that to me is, that's where ATD does most of our work. And to me, that's where kind of the rubber meets the road, so to speak. So the institutional level, the next slide is a little bit of a placeholder for this part of the conversation. ATD's K through 12 partnership strategy is based on the fundamental tenets of our vision for community colleges, that we are creating profoundly more accessible institutions for our students, particularly those in the local K through 12 systems that our colleges serve, addressing the persistent racial, social, and economic equity gaps we know continue to be barriers for underrepresented students their families, and the community, and focusing the work on the local community by engaging partners from across the educational landscape, as well as community organizations, employers, and policymakers, and then connecting all of this work to that evolving student success agenda that I shared previously. On this slide, you can see the connection of becoming profoundly accessible to the full and developing theory of change that we hold around community vibrancy. So you see, beginning with the slide in the lower left, intentional outreach, that really is where the beginning of the strategic thinking on dual enrollment in the broadest sense sits within our thinking of dual enrollment in a broader sense. Our thinking at ATD is informed mostly, or a lot now, from our Gateway to College program, which is a college-based high school completion program that provides off-track and disengaged high school students a path to a high school diploma, a meaningful college credential, and economic mobility. In 2019, Gateway to College was its own nonprofit and merged with Achieving the Dream. And that really helped us to build a stronger kind of connection of this work in dual enrollment and high school connections to our overall work with the colleges in our network who were starting their student success journeys, thinking about the students inside their institutions first, and not as focused on the ecosystem within which the students were coming from. So we know these partnerships are unique to the local context, including the breadth and depth of willing partners and participants in the work, and are ultimately driven by the college and their K-12 partners. So what does this look like? First, K-12 partnerships are as diverse as the communities they serve. So we've embraced at ATD a portfolio model, and we've grouped that portfolio of activities into 6 categories. So imagine a comprehensive and aligned vision for K-12 partnering that could include all 6 strategies or some components of these 6 strategies. College readiness programs that help students gain an awareness of college and a sense of identity as college-oriented students. And activities include exposure to a breadth of careers and education pathways required for them, as well as developmentally appropriate programming to foster a sense of belonging. Bridge programming that help prepare students for college, typically through summer programs after graduation, but we are now beginning to design much more innovative bridge programs that can prepare students for post-secondary success much earlier in their K-12 careers. Dual enrollment, which includes a wide range of models in which high school students take individual college courses, including concurrent enrollment, dual credit, early college courses, and other programs, that broad kind of definition of dual enrollment. Early college high schools that incorporate dual enrollment into comprehensive grade 9 through 12 programs, or schools that build college readiness through a scaffolded experience, beginning with exposure to college content and skills and gradually increasing enrollment in college courses. So here in North Carolina, early college high schools are operated through the cooperative innovative high school model, and they're an exemplar for the rest of the country. Career pathways and CTE programs that include that introduce students to career pathways with economic value through awareness advising college level courses in CTE fields. CTE pathways represent a crucial opportunity to increase equitable access to dual enrollment. And you heard Catherine Truitt speak to those CTE pathways in her introduction today. And then the last part of the portfolio approach is shared professional development that creates opportunities for K-12 counselors and faculty to build a shared understanding of resources available to students in the programs described above, and be better prepared to support stronger alignment between high school coursework and the college courses that follow. So many colleges have one or more of these discrete programs. So think about your programs and how they might fit within this organizing framework. But very few of our institutions are thinking about their strategy strategically within a portfolio. How do the programs fit in these categories, and how do they intersect? And what does that mean for a comprehensive strategy for K through 12 partners? This requires institutions, both schools and the colleges, to integrate their work into their strategic plans, institutional policies and practices, data systems, and overall culture as part of their overall transformation efforts to strengthen student success. So these characteristics describe what we believe reflect effective K through 12 partnerships in the 6 areas. So we had the portfolio. Now we're looking at the components, the characteristics that need to be embedded in an effective K through 12 partnership design. So imagine the establishment of a shared vision where college leaders and K through 12 leaders collaboratively articulate a vision for a combined impact in their community in creating and supporting pathways. Ultimately, this is a recognition that achieving our boldest ambitions for educational attainment and economic mobility is beyond the scope of one institution alone. Imagine creating deep partnerships. So successful partnerships that build on this shared vision. And a shared vision might be looking at the educational attainment rate of the region within which the college and the high school partners reside, and thinking about the shared vision being increasing that educational attainment level. That's just one example of what a shared vision might look like. But the successful partnership then builds on that shared vision with meaningful collaboration between K through 12 teachers and leaders and college faculty and administrators. The collaboration leads to deeper partnerships that are sustainable because they're supported with sufficient staffing and resources and information, mutually going back and forth to consistently look at achieving the objectives and where the partnership is in achieving those objectives. Imagine promoting equitable access, successful partnerships that are not only sustainable, but seek to expand access to post-secondary education and remove barriers to student participation and persistence. These are designed to attract and engage students who are not likely to matriculate to higher education. And in most of our communities, this means increasing participation rates of low-income, Black, Latinx, and Native students who are consistently underrepresented in dual enrollment. Imagine strengthening student engagement, effective partnerships that are student-centered, featuring programs designed to help K through 12 students develop a sense of belonging and familiarity in a post-secondary environment, and students participating in activities and services that normalize their enrollment in college and provide the holistic supports that they need, both academic and non-academic, to persist and succeed. Imagine broadening community engagement. So in many cases, these effective partnerships are responsive, and it should be in all cases, responsive to the needs and context of their communities, including students' families, workforce partners, community-based organization partners, and partnerships include both formal and informal roles for community members. And communication about partnerships is offered in a variety of languages, formats, and venues to engage a diverse array of stakeholders. And then finally, assessing outcomes. Effective partnerships include regular assessment of program quality, equitable access, and student impact. So the goal here is to work with colleges to crosswalk these different program types with the characteristics of effective programs. So this slide shows a crosswalk tool that Achieving the Dream is using as part of our K through 12 college partnerships landscape analysis work. Now, of course, some colleges and school districts have more work to do than others. In some cases, there's little or no coordination between the school district and the college. Others have what we think of as institutional alignment, and ideally, there is mutual alignment. So you see the level of ratings for the way that we look at when we come in and assess a partnership. No coordination. This might be an example of community colleges doing kind of random dual enrollment work, responding to a school district's request for a course here and there with no other supports aligned and no common vision. Level 2, there could be alignment, but typically it's hard to tell who is taking the lead in establishing the approach. And then level 3, it's mutual engagement. You can see that there's a shared goal, there's shared resources, there's a spine of support that has emerged that both partners are contributing to. So you might be saying, yes, but what does this really look like in action? So I know we have a number of Wake Tech Community College colleagues listening in today, and we're going to take a look inside Wake Tech's work. And I want to thank President Rawls for allowing me to use this as an example today. So Wake Tech has done incredible work within North Carolina's statewide dual enrollment program, their Career and College Promise programs, and they also operate 4 highly regarded cooperative innovative high schools, which are public high schools that operate under a partnership between Wake Tech and the Wake County Public School System. These schools are specifically designed to expand students' opportunities for educational success through high-quality dual enrollment coursework and a focus on specific CTE pathways. So Wake Tech is already doing amazing work, as many of you are as well. Yet they saw that there was potential room to strengthen their approach. And we helped with an analysis using our K-12 landscape tools that surfaced some of these opportunities. So the next slide, the analysis showed that there were significant gaps between what was being achieved in the cooperative innovative high schools versus all other CCP courses. And some of the barriers and opportunities included the lack of a shared agenda between the college and the school district, that could really be strengthened and elevated. Personnel capacity at both organizations. I'm sure that that's something that you're all familiar with. The need for more focused outreach for students who benefit most from CCP programs, and a limited capacity to offer services when and where students can access them. So based on that assessment, our team made 7 recommendations to Wake Tech that align with the characteristics of effective programs. So think back to the slide earlier on effective programs, but our 7 recommendations are here. Articulate a shared vision, create a work plan. You'd be amazed at how many partnerships lack a specific work plan with clear tactics and clear goals. Create culturally focused and community-specific outreach. Really think about a stakeholder analysis and taking some of the work into the community to reach those students that we otherwise would not reach. Engage prospective students earlier. Bring advising to the students. Bring classes to the students and measure outcomes that move the objectives. And this is the kind of honest and intentional assessment work that will result in more equitable access to and success in our dual enrollment programs. Now, while we work at the local level, and that work is urgent, we also need to think about the larger policy context that deserves attention as well, since we know dual enrollment programs don't function in a vacuum. And very often, from my perspective, the institutional context and the policy context are not aligned. And that's one of the biggest gaps in our, kind of strategic thinking on the design of dual enrollment. Policy, particularly at the state level, is a central concern because it obviously shapes what our institutions can do and how we approach dual enrollment, and what state resources are available and how those resources are allocated to support dual enrollment. So state dual enrollment policies, in my opinion, are a mixed bag at best, sometimes aimed at boosting enrollments rather than intentionally and strategically expanding access to college for racially minoritized and poverty-impacted students. As I noted the last time we were together, the Education Commission of the states has reported that by and large, state set eligibility requirements limit dual enrollment access to only the most academically advanced students who are likely to pursue college after high school regardless. And as a result, dual enrollment programs face increasing equity gaps. So to address this issue, the College High School Alliance has adopted a bold new vision that articulates the why that should drive the policy agenda. And through the College High School Alliance, which I mentioned before, Achieving the Dream is a partner with, the Alliance is calling for, by 2030, to eliminate the access gap for participation and success for historically marginalized students in high school programs such as dual enrollment and early college, and have a policy system and funding in place that are designed to ensure students are completing meaningful and intentional college course experiences in high school. So to achieve this vision, the College High School Alliance is calling on states to first establish a clear vision and goals for dual enrollment in their state, and ensure that dual enrollment is integrated into the state's overall vision and goals for the educational system. And this vision kind of is cross-sector. It's cross K through 12 policy and post-secondary policy. And so often it gets missed because of the way our states look at dual enrollment, which kind of sits in the middle of those two. Last year, Kentucky became the first state to adopt a statewide dual credit attainment goal. They established that by 2030, 50% of students will graduate from high school having completed a dual enrollment course. The state arrived at that goal after looking at disaggregated demographic data and determining that if they focus expansion on students underrepresented in dual credit, by the time they achieved 50% participation, the dual credit population would match the high school student population as a whole. So second, we must continue to close the gaps for underrepresented groups like low-income students or Black and Hispanic students, and expand our work to include new populations like students with disabilities, English language learners, and others. And this is not a simple issue and can't be addressed with a single strategy, but there are ways that states can encourage or advance equity, starting with taking a careful look at dual enrollment eligibility requirements and assessing whether they are truly set to support students or if they act as a barrier to equitable participation. Massachusetts is addressing equity by focusing dual enrollment expansion in that state on early college high schools that recruit students underrepresented in higher education and pair enhanced student supports with career-aligned pathways. And lastly, the College High School Alliance calls for states and programs to create and support intentional and meaningful dual enrollment experiences that are well integrated into the education system and aligned to the full breadth and locally relevant post-secondary pathways. In other words, our policies and programs cannot just be about enrollment management or giving students a quote-unquote college experience. These experiences need to lead to good, life-sustaining jobs and social and economic mobility. They must be designed, for example, for transfer without loss of credits. They should be aligned with a program pathway. Indiana may be the furthest along in this regard by developing a dual enrollment funding mechanism that provides state funding for courses comprising programs of study that the state has determined to have the greatest benefit for students. Now, I've been focusing on state policy, but of course, we also to make sure that policies, whether formal or informal, and I'm thinking some of the colleges I work with in ATD who have informal institutional policies that can also act as barriers for dual enrollment and create differential experiences for learners, that we need to look at those types of policies as well. And looking at these at the institutional level are even more important in states where there is an absence of state policy. So finally, there's an area that impacts both policy and practice that I'm aware of from presidents that I've talked to across the country, and that's the issue of educator credentialing, particularly in those places where regional accreditors are requiring a master's degree in the subject matter or equivalent scholarship for faculty and teachers in concurrent enrollment programs. And while this requirement does create a barrier to expanding dual enrollment, many communities are developing innovative ways to address this and create more effective and more equitable dual enrollment programs, including strengthening early college programs that bring high school students to college campuses. Now, for example, Roane State Community College in Tennessee, which I recently visited, runs early college high schools on each of their 6 campuses, working with the school district on transportation, meals, and ensuring that students get back to their high schools for athletics, band, etc. And Reynolds Community College in Virginia, which after years of inequitable dual enrollment responses to high school students, high schools, in other words, responding to high income high schools with dual enrollment programs and not hearing anything from the low income high schools, is now working very proactively with the Richmond School District to bring Richmond City students to their downtown campus for early college high school. So in addition to the policy area, there's still also a good amount of research needed to help support this work. We know that dual enrollment has positive impacts on students, from increasing enrollment to improving completion of a college credential, but there's still more to learn about why that is the case and how to make those outcomes more equitable and how to scale those efforts. In 2022, a new publication, Research Priorities for Advancing Equitable Dual Enrollment Policy and Practice, outlined 5 areas of dual enrollment research that should be established. And ATD is a signatory to that research agenda. And I want to briefly outline some of the key areas in that research agenda because they are important in informing us in the design of our programs and our policies at all levels in the future. As I hope you can tell from my comments already, ATD believes equity must be at the center of the work to strengthen dual enrollment. And a unifying theme of the research agenda is that equity and justice must be the anchor of future dual enrollment research. This stems from well-documented evidence that illustrates inequities in dual enrollment opportunities at the national, state, and local levels, and some evidence that in many localities and states, dual enrollment does not lead to equitable outcomes. A particularly important area of research is the need to sort through the myriad of dual enrollment models and programs and identify those that are improving access to college and completion. Across the country, thousands of high schools and colleges partner to deliver dual enrollment programs, and these programs are often designed, structured, and/or delivered in different ways based on local, state, and federal policy and context. Just as with any of our programs, we need honest assessments about what programs are working to support and scale those programs, and we need to be willing to change or even sunset those programs that are not equitably meeting the needs of our students. The assessment should not only look at traditional outcomes such as high school graduation, college access, and college degree attainment, but more in-depth metrics that examine both the short and long-term impact on students and on communities. Some calls to wonder questions. Does dual enrollment help the many, many students who aspire to transfer into a bachelor's degree program, but never do? Do our programs lead not only to good in-demand jobs, but also put students on a pathway to a meaningful career over the long term? And do our programs have positive social, economic, and cultural impact on our communities? The research agenda also calls for a stronger qualitative understanding of the student experience. And you can find out more about the research agenda by visiting the Dual Enrollment Research Fund website. So in closing, there is much for us to do. And this is important work at a critical moment. Dual enrollment in its broadest sense must become a centerpiece to our equitable student success agenda. It can't be siloed. It can't be disconnected from the rest of our student success work. It must be integrated. And it's particularly encouraging to see some of the innovative partnerships that have and are forming around this concept of dual enrollment. I'm talking about partnerships like the ones being established between Durham Technical Community College in North Carolina, the Durham Public Schools, and Duke Health. Together, they're creating an early college high school focused on healthcare that will allow students to graduate directly into high-demand healthcare jobs that pay family-sustaining wages and give students the opportunity to continue their education. Durham Tech President Buxton said of the effort, quote, "It will make college possible for more students and families, ensure the local healthcare workforce reflects our community, and create a well-trained workforce for an essential sector that has lost workers in recent years." So you see in that case, the college designing a strategy that fully sits within that local big vision of the workforce pipeline and being kind of at the nexus of the employer and the K through 12 system, and creating that more accelerated ramp for students into a career. I think this is the kind of vision that we can all aspire to for all of our programs. I know that the work you do over the next 2 days will help us achieve that goal. I think I have one more slide. Maybe. Yes. Okay. One more slide. Something I want to conclude with. Last week, Achieving the Dream completed our Dream Conference, where we had, almost 2,300 practitioners attend for 4 days, and we celebrate our Dream Scholars as part of Dream. And Tamir Briley was one of our Dream Scholars, and I met with the Dream Scholars for lunch, and I asked them, and this is something I often ask colleagues, is I know you're here listening into this because this work is your red thread. It is what keeps you engaged. Our students, the connection with the students, the possibility of the work, that's your red thread. It keeps you moving. Even on days when things aren't going well, you have your red thread. And I asked the students, what's their red thread? And Tamir said, my goal is simple. If my story can inspire just one person to hold on to their college dreams and persevere, I'll have made a meaningful impact. And that's how I feel about dual enrollment. If we can reach and inspire just a few more students in our communities who otherwise would not be thinking about post-secondary education, think about the transformational impact our dual enrollment programs can have on our students, on their families, and on their communities. So thank you so much for sharing time with me today. And if there is any time left, I'd love to hear your thoughts and answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Wow. I don't have many words except wow. Dr. Stout, that was amazing.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you for that opening, this charge for all of us to sort of wonder and be introspective when thinking about dual enrollment in our own personal context. And that community vibrancy framework and situating dual enrollment within that framework was powerful. So thank you for that and for reminding us that student success is community success. That's my
Absolutely.
red thread, right?
That's right.
Student success.
Absolutely, Michelle. That's the partnership piece that sometimes we forget when we work on design. We want to respond to the high school, you know, and it's bigger than that. We need to step back sometimes and ask those bigger questions about the why and then the how.
Wow. And we can't forget that you reminded us at the beginning that we can't assume that they will find us, right? That outreach, strategic, intentional outreach, that's where it all starts. So thank you again for this. And we do want to invite folks because our time is limited here before we have to transition. And what we want to do, though, is to invite folks to offer your questions in the chat here. We're going to hold on and capture those questions and share them with Dr. Stout, if you're good with that, Dr. Stout,
That's wonderful.
to
Yes.
respond to those. So that would be phenomenal if everyone can just put your questions there. And again, we will capture those and share them with Dr. Stout to respond to them. So again, thank you to everyone for joining us. What a charge to start out DE 24. Again, thank you, Dr. Stout, for encouraging and yes, and inspiring us all. And everyone, we certainly wish you a wonderful first day of the conference. Thank you for being here and evidencing that if you build it, or in this case, plan it, they will come. So we're grateful again to have you all here. And
Michelle,
wish you
could I just thank a couple
absolutely,
of people, just
absolutely.
really quickly. ATD has a fabulous K through 12 team. Nick Mathern and Stephanie Davalos. I just want to give them a call out. Nick helped me with crafting my remarks and, you know, giving me that a little bit of the broader context. But I just wanted to make sure that I gave them a call out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. 11 o'clock session. Our first session is beginning in just a moment. And again, thank you, Dr. Stout, and we will capture these questions. So thanks, everyone, and have a great first day.